Welcome to If Mama Only Knew podcast, where we explore topics related to mental health, well being, and personal growth. Please note that while I, Anna, am a licensed therapist, the information and advice shared on this podcast are for educational and informational purposes only. The content provided here is not intended to replace or substitute for professional mental health services with a licensed professional. Thank you for listening and remember to take care of yourself.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of If Mama Only Knew podcast. This is Tatiana, one of your hosts.
Hi everyone, this is Anna, your other host.
And we are back. So how was your past week? It is Monday, new week, beginning of the week. How was your weekend? How was your last week?
My weekend was great. I went to my sister's birthday party and that was fun. I did housework. I, spent a lot of time reading, which is always great. I feel like I don't ever get a chance to read anymore. So this weekend I was able to do a lot of that. So it was great. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. I mean, I honestly just worked both days, Saturday, Sunday. Work was pretty busy. We had a lot of foot traffic in the store. Our location is a summer store, so there's a lot of tourists in the summer. We're really busy for summer, especially back to school as well. But I would think by now it's it would be slowing down, but no. I feel like it's just gonna be busy. It's crazy that we're basically already halfway through September.
Yeah, I know. It's flying by. I feel like a lot of people are trying to squeeze in the last days of summer. And because I see so many people out and about, and I think we've also had really nice weather.
Yeah,
finally,
that heat wave.
Yeah,
I mean, that heat wave was not nice, but we always have good weather here, but we recently had this past weekend we had a little overcast. It was a little cloudy, a little muggy, so we're wait, is this finally no more sun? Are we going into fall? But I think where we live it's never truly fall until we get the rain, which is I don't know, the weather is never predictable, honestly, because
it's not.
Was it last year we had snow in what was it,
in the nearby
April
mountains?
or something?
Yeah, it was
yeah,
weird.
in the nearby mountains, not
Inner city or anything.
Yeah. But yeah, overall my weekend was pretty good. Just work, trying to squeeze in some studying, schoolwork.
Yeah, I feel like you need to update listeners about how school's going because you're on your 4th week now, right?
School's pretty good. I feel like I'm trying to find a good balance of school life, work life, personal life, having time in there for myself to really, regroup and just have some self-care moments. And I feel like I have, but it's definitely hard. I think I forgot how hard it was, school, work, and personal life balance.
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing. But I think I'm getting the hang of it. But yeah, I think I've just been having breakdowns. I'm not even gonna lie, but it's all part of the process. It's gonna be hard. Nothing is gonna be easy in life. So I think it's just having a good schedule set, because if you don't have a schedule, I feel like you're just gonna be whatever free time you have, you're really not gonna take advantage of it and use it how you should. So I think a schedule is really important. A planner really helps me too. Just keeping everything neat, planned. You can cross off what you've done, reminders of assignments, reminders of errands you have to run. So I feel like that's really been helping me too. And it's just kind of cute. You can make it cute. I feel like you always see those TikToks of people doing their planners and making it cute with the colors, and that definitely motivates me. It's the small things that can motivate you, doing your planner cute. That can really help.
That's real.
It is. I just feel like I said, it's the little things that really help that you might not even think about. But trust me, if you're having a hard time back to school, you're trying to like juggle everything. You're working still, you're going to school obviously, and you're trying to juggle like personal life, having time for yourself. Please get a planner. Like, I promise you, it sounds like I'm not gonna write in that shit, but no, you will. I always get planners too in the past, like when I'm not in school and I forget to use them, but when it's definitely helpful when you're in school. So
Yeah.
a planner I recommend. Marshall's,
Ross.
Home Goods, Ross. They have really cute ones.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, I think that's all for the recap. Like I said, it's crazy to me. We're already halfway through September.
Yeah.
Time is a crazy thing. Like,
Yeah.
how are we already halfway through September? I don't get it. I'm just seeing everything like fall. Our local pumpkin patch is almost opened up. I feel like it should have been open by now,
Yeah.
low key, but
Yeah.
I think they're low key behind on the pumpkins because we passed by today
I know.
and there was no pumpkins in there that were like sprouted. So I was like, wait,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if they grow him there or if they bring him in.
No, they have to grow them
I
there.
don't know.
Okay,
Maybe
well,
we can find out.
if you guys know which pumpkin patch we're talking about, let me know, because if you know, you know. If you're from our town, like, there's no pumpkins at the pumpkin patch right now. But yeah, I'm excited for fall season. I'm ready for my Uggs. I'm ready for my sweats. I'm ready for my hoodies. I'm usually a summer girl, and I think we've said this in the past, that we like, all of a sudden, both of us are just, we're looking forward to fall.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'm excited.
I think, in full honesty, I think I'm counting down the days that we're not going to have sunlight anymore as much. I hate the time change.
Don't even remind
That is
me.
something that I always, and we'll do a whole separate episode to prepare people for that, because the time change really affects me. It impacts me in a really negative way. So I have to like prepare like months in advance, right?
I hate it. I hate it,
yeah.
hate it. Like,
It's like 5 and it's dark.
Yeah,
already out.
it's ridiculous. And yeah, like you said, it takes a toll on your mood. It's just like, damn, like, why is it dark already? You feel like, obviously, when it's dark, you can still do things with your day, but it feels like you have like less time to do things. So I'm not looking forward to that either. Especially when it comes to work. Like, I hate getting out of work when it's dark, because I feel like, and I haven't been experiencing that, because, you know, summer, the time has been, you know.
Oh, yeah, because you started this job at the beginning of the year, right?
So it's almost going to be a year since I've been there, too, which is
true.
crazy. But yeah, I'm scared because I don't like walking around when it's dark. So I don't know. It's time to get that pepper spray.
That's real, seriously.
But yeah, I'm not looking forward to like the daylight savings or whatever. Weren't they talking about like taking that away?
I thought so.
I
don't know what happened.
They need to like, there needs to be more like
Who
a
do we need to
petition or
write a letter
something,
to?
because
Yeah.
I can't with that. Like, it makes me so like anxious, depressed, sad. Like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the fall and everything, but
not the time change. Yeah. So we're going to make the best out of it this season, because I feel like, you know, it's all about your mindset. If you already have a negative mindset, I feel like it'll be what you make it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so let's just prepare ourselves for, you know, a good outcome. Tatiana and I are actually going to start going to the gym together. This is something we've kind of been talking about, and we have different schedules for the most part, I think.
Yeah.
But I think just going together provides that accountability, where it's like we're going to be like accountability buddies, if you will.
Bye.
And so we're going to be going to the gym together. So we'll keep you guys updated, see how that goes.
I mean,
It's
today's supposed to be our first day.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of still trying to figure out what time we're going to go, because I have to be up and getting ready for school latest 6:30 in the morning. I know that sounds really excessive and crazy, but you guys don't understand the parking situation at my city college. Like, it's crazy. Like, they be giving out more permits than they have spots.
No,
it's crazy.
seriously.
Like, they should not be doing that. like, I know they got a budget too, so they need to be making more parking or something. Yeah. But yeah, I have to get early, like I was saying, get up really early to leave on time. So we would have to be going to the gym at like 4 a.m., which is just not
I'm
possible.
Trying to talk her out of that because I'm a night owl. I go to bed really late. Yeah. And so I'm usually like in bed by midnight. And
you're asleep. In bed like 11, but you go to sleep around like midnight, 1 o'clock.
And I've tried it all. I've tried to eliminate screen time. I read. And then, some nights I do fall asleep. I've tried, melatonin.
The sleepy girl cocktail.
I've tried it all. And it just, I don't know. It's like hit or miss. So I think.
But I think the best thing is to go to the gym because once you start, your body like physically gets tired. And I know the job you have is obviously like mentally and physically like exhausting too at times. Yeah. So your body's already tired from, a day of work. But I think when you're like physically obviously like lifting weights, doing cardio, like your body's gonna be like, okay,
it's gonna follow.
I need to sleep. Exactly. So I know when I'm at the gym I get a good night's rest. So I'm excited for that. Hopefully that helps with
just our sleep in general.
And if you guys have recommendations for mattresses, let me know. I've been in the market for a new mattress. I just think it's time for a new mattress. The one I have, it's doing the job, but I've had it for a while, I think it's about that time to get a new one. So if you guys have ones that you love, let me know because we went to Costco. I am like so picky. I am like the skeptical girl. I'm like, how is this mattress gonna look like that if it's in a little box? So I'm like, I don't know. But yes, let me know if you guys have mattress recommendations. But I feel like I'm going off on tangents. But
no, you're updating, which is good.
Yes. I'm trying to think what else. I feel like that's about it. School, excited for fall. Time change. I feel like a lot is coming up. I'm honestly just looking forward to like Christmas. I don't know,
girl. That's
I need to calm down.
Enjoy the fall, and then we'll transition into Christmas.
I just love it. Going to Costco today just opened my eyes. They have their stuff so early, so but I'm excited for everything. Oh my gosh. But I guess going on to what we're going to be talking about today, I kind of had a couple ideas. I know you did.
I don't know if you want to. I have a lot on my mind related to social media.
Let us know what's on your mind and let us know.
So today is September 16th, which is Mexican Independence Day, and which honestly prompted like this topic today, right, that I want to talk about just because I saw this quote and it was something about, I think it was a therapist who actually posted this, and it was a quote about decolonizing the mind. I feel like a lot of like the groups and chats that I'm part of in the mental health field, we're always talking about decolonizing therapy and mental health and what that really means. And I saw this quote that talked about, in honor of Mexican Independence Day, let's work on decolonizing our minds. Let's work on moving away from like, a lot of the problematic things that as a culture, as a collective, we do. It was talking about like, in honor of, this day, like let's address some of the things that we do as a collective that are problematic, right? And it's really sort of like challenging all the notions that we have around like white supremacy and our Latino culture and our Mexican culture in particular, because I'm, Mexican. I can only speak for my community, for my experience within my community being Mexican, that I feel like there are a lot of problematic things that we do, right? There's a lot of like colorism. There's a lot of, stigma around mental illness. There's a lot of stigma around setting boundaries with parents and toxic family members.
Your elders.
Your elders, right? We pedestal our parents. We put our parents on a pedestal, and sometimes at our own detriment and our own mental health, right? We compromise our mental health by doing that. And so I know I'm kind of rambling, but there's a point to it. Like, I really wanted to talk about this content creator. I don't know if you guys have heard about her. I'm sure you have, Shawty Bae. And so just to kind of give you a little bit background, before I get into that, I want to say, I don't know Shawty Bae. Shawty Bae doesn't know me. For all I know, she could hear this podcast and say, like, girl, stop lying on my name.
But
like, I don't know you, you know damn well, right?
Shawty Bae, we are not hating, please.
We are not.
We are just...
I feel like I'm like the biggest, like, silent supporter of Shawty Bae.
Yeah.
Every time I go on TikTok, I read through the comments and I just hate all the harassment and bullying that really she receives.
We hate haters.
Right.
Like, there's a difference between voicing your opinion, you know, constructive criticism. We know, obviously, like, probably being a public figure, it's really hard. You have people watching, like, you know, thinking they know every second of your life from clips that people are just posting and stuff, but we don't know as, like, viewers every single thing about your life. So it's crazy to see people just really going at people. Like,
we're
it's
not
crazy.
here to cape for anyone. We're not here to speak on anyone's behalf, but I really do want to, more so than talking about Shawty Bae, I want to use her as an example of how in her experience, I feel like she embodies a lot of, like, what's wrong with our culture, right? And you know what I mean by that is, like, Shawty Bae is a content creator that I think started on Musical.ly, if I'm not mistaken. She started like a long time ago, and she's been constantly creating content, right? She's, I think, from Minnesota. And so she is this girl that is really funny. She has a very unique personality. And I think, like, she went viral a couple years ago, really.
Yeah.
She would often be in her room doing Get Ready With Me's, playing music. I think Shawty Bae is Ecuadorian, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
And so she's Latinx, but she's not Mexican. And this comes, you know,
and I think
there's
that's
a point to
when
this,
a lot
right?
of people get...
Right. And so she went viral, I think, a year or 2 years ago, and she started getting a lot of attention and a lot of followers. And I think in the beginning, a lot of people really wanted to see her win, because I think she's like a non-conventional, like, looking person. Like, she's not your typical
beauty standard for today's society.
She doesn't fit the Eurocentric beauty standard, which is thin, white, tall, you know, girl, right? She's a thick girl. She's a bigger girl. And I think she self-disclosed that she has either a learning disability or cognitive impairment. I'm not really sure what it is. She hasn't fully disclosed, but there's a lot of speculations out there that, you know, she has cognitive delays, that she has a learning disability, that she's neurodivergent. Like, she's never confirmed, to my knowledge, what really her disability is, if there is one, but I think she has loosely talked about she has a disability.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, the fact that she's a big girl, I feel like the fact that there's some sort of learning disability or some sort of othering of her, I think garner a lot of, like, attention in the beginning, because she's really funny, you know, she would tell people off. And so I think people truly wanted to see her win, because she was like a social outcast.
She was like kind of finally getting the recognition, I guess, she's deserved. You know, you see all these influencers and, you know, you follow them. You're like a silent watcher. You see them grow. You see them when they're barely getting, you know, their small amount of views, and then you see them, you know, go to the level she is now. And I think that a lot of people, like you said at the beginning, they wanted to see her win. But a thing that we say a lot between the both of us is that they'll build you up to tear you down.
Yes,
absolutely. And we see that so much in today's society with, like, influencers, I wouldn't say maybe celebrities, but I feel like them too. But more specifically influencers, I feel like they get all this like hype, they get all this, recognition, they got all this love from their supporters, and then one day they either make a mistake, or one day like something gets flipped around, switched, maybe they do something that's problematic and controversial, but a lot of people just boom,
and they get
turn
canceled,
on them,
right?
and there's a switch in something, and it just really goes downhill from there. And I just can't even like imagine how that like feels like having like millions, maybe not millions, but thousands of people every day in your comments just saying that like
harassing
the nastiest,
you, right?
rudest, like so much stuff to you. And I just think it's so sad that.
And so again, with Shawty Bae, I think her case is the perfect example how all her like identities intersect together and create a very specific experience for her. And I think that she's been getting a lot of hate because, again, she blew up. She got a lot of brand deals, right? With like, what is it, like Fashion Nova and like Shein and just like...
No, just so many brands, yeah.
Right. So many brands have been sort of collaborating with her. And so, with fame comes, the downside of it, right? Where you blow up and you are known too quickly, and you go from, in her case, being in her room getting ready in a small town in Minnesota to now moving to LA and having millions of followers and a lot of attention, right? And having her life play out in social media, right? And so a lot of people, there's been a shift where now a lot of people don't like her. And a lot of people are not cutting her slack. And I feel like, back to what you were saying about, content creators getting really popular and then people wanting to see them win, but up to a certain extent, right? Because once they reach a certain level of success, I feel like there's a shift that happens, but not for all content creators. I feel like only for minorities,
a certain group of people, right? It's usually for people that don't fit the mold of the beauty standard, right? How many times have we seen like a lot of like Black content creators get, doxxed or get canceled or get called out, right? And how many times have we seen white content creators be problematic and really nothing happens? Yeah. And they still stay their same audience, support. They get a lot of validation. They get a lot of excuses made for them. But like, again, on the other hand, when you have these Black creators and you have these creators that are minorities, and it's a lot of just like racism at the end of the day, that are not fitting the beauty standard, that are not, what anyone wants to see, I guess, succeed. Like, a lot of people only like to see like white people succeed and like on their For You page. And it's sad how you see how much the differences of how people are getting treated. And it's crazy how other people don't see it. And like TikTok comments are out of pocket. TikTok comments are so crazy. Like, I could go on like a rabbit hole of TikTok comments, like, and people are just so out of pocket. It's crazy on there.
They are. And so with the case of Shawty Bae, I feel like she got really popular and she was collaborating with other content creators. And then there was, I think, a rupture in their friendship. And I feel like that's when things took a turn. Again, we don't know these people personally. This is just what we see on social media, right? And so, but I do see some of the points that come up in conversation and then in the comments, and then other creators that are like the gossip like pages that repost a lot of the clips that these content creators make, right? People really take the time to watch people's lives, like videos. They go live on TikTok and they like screen record, I guess, the lives, and then they like repost, right? And that's how they create a platform, which I guess there's an audience for that too, but then that harbors just more hatred, I feel like. And it's like, did you guys hear Shawty Bae?
Stop.
Right? And she says stop because it's like a specific creator that like that's like his catchphrase, right?
Yeah.
Now, did you guys hear? And then he'll go on about a specific creator, which is like very cringy, but he obviously has a huge following too, right? And now he's like very popular because of that, right? And so anyway, so I've seen the shift that's taken because I think it's important to note that Shawty Bae is a big girl. She doesn't fit the mold and the stereotype of what, you know, of the beauty standard, right? Of like the skinny, pretty, you know, girl. And I think that those factors combined create a very unique experience for her. I think in her, you know, community, in her Mexican community in particular, there's this nationalism that sometimes happens where when we think of like what it means to be Latinx, we center our experience as Mexican, and we don't consider that there are other, you know, ethnicities and other people within the umbrella of being Latinx, right? And because Shawty Bae is not Mexican, she is Ecuadorian. I think there's like a certain level of like othering that people do of her because again she's not Mexican. And I think she was going live one day and people were like, oh, like, are you Mexican? And she's like, no, I'm not Mexican. And she was annoyed. And I've heard this a lot from friends that are not Mexican, that are Latinx, where they feel like fuck, there are other ethnicities besides like Mexican, right?
Yeah.
And that's true. And there's a level of annoyance that comes with that. And I totally get it and understand it, but not a lot of people do. And I think a lot of people take that as like a jab, or like she's trying to basically say there's something wrong with being called Mexican, which I don't even think she ever said that,
they
right?
took it in, like, the people who took it wrong definitely took it to heart as her saying, like, oh, like, I'm not Mexican, what the fuck? Like, stop saying that, guys. I mean, I don't know the context of, like, how she said it, but, you know, however she said it, she was just explaining how that she wasn't Mexican, and I think that's okay to do because, like you said, I think a lot of people like to just assume that the only, like, or, like, not the only, but, like, a majority of people that are Latino are Mexican, specifically. And obviously we know that's not the case, and I think a lot of people need to get out of that mindset, and a lot of people are very... they're just not educated.
Decolonize your mind that there isn't just the identity of Mexican and within the umbrella of being Latino or Latina or Latinx, right? And so I think that like this is like a clear example of that. And then I think like there's a lot of fatphobia in our community, and like let's be real. And you know, I know people are probably going to feel a certain way about what we're talking about, but I think these are all things that are important to address.
Yeah. And then again, like, if just think about it, if what we're talking about is like really bothering you and is really triggering you, reevaluate why that is the case. Because it's just crazy how much fatphobia, how much colorism, how much just so much stuff in Latino culture that a lot of people just, I don't know.
Let's kind of go down the list of things that I feel like are sort of being embodied by Shawty Bae and like connected back to the Latino community. I feel like there's fatphobia, there's ableism, right? Because she is been already labeled as othered, and like her, you know, way of interacting, speaking, and the way she presents herself is different, right? It's not like the typical way, quote unquote, typical way of how one presents themselves. And so she's already been othered by a lot of people based on her having a learning disability or whatever kind of deficit she has, right? And so ableism goes into that, right? Then there's, you know, the family cutoff or the no contact, right? She has been sort of fighting essentially with her sister through social media, right? So I think there's some family estrangement. I think she recently has cut off her mom and her sister. And there's a lot of allegations as to why that is. I don't want to get into the specifics of that because again, I don't know these people, but this is very much playing out through social media, right?
Which is really sad.
Right, really sad. And her saying, like, my mom is, like, using me for money. My mom only calls me when she wants me to send her money, allegedly, right? Like, these are things that she's saying on social media. And so setting boundaries with a parent is incredibly difficult. And again, like, I think a lot of us put our parents on a pedestal, and there's this idea that you only get one set of parents, and if you don't honor those parents, you're essentially a bad person. It doesn't matter what your parent does to you. It doesn't matter if your parent's toxic. We're sort of expected to still honor that parent. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and you guys will hear me say it throughout this podcast, that is incredibly toxic, and we're not here for that.
Yeah.
If your parents are toxic and you have decided to create some distance for your own well-being, you are entitled to that decision.
Yeah.
I think she gets a lot of hate because, again, she is, showing her life, and she obviously is setting boundaries with her family, and she's challenging the notions of what a good Latina daughter should be doing, which is to put up with her mom's toxicity regardless of, what her mom is doing. Again, allegedly, we don't know these people, but I think, like, it got me thinking, like, I really feel like if she wasn't a big girl, if she didn't have this learning disability or this impairment of whatever sort she has, and, she didn't embody, like, all the different identities that she does, I don't think she would be getting this much hate. I think, like, in a lot of ways, she probably triggers a lot of, like, the notions that we have of what, people like her, right? People like her, quote unquote, are deserving of or should have. I feel like a lot of people, and I see it in the comments where people say, I don't think that, why is she famous again? She's so gross. She's so ugly. She's so this. Like, they're constantly talking about her appearance, her hygiene, even this boyfriend that I guess she now has, right? A lot of people were saying, like, why is he with her? He's taking one for the team. He's chasing the bag. Like, and this is a very average looking young kid,
Yeah,
right?
he ain't all that. He's not even that. Like, he's
and
not
this
even.
Is no shade to him.
No, oh my gosh. That's so fucking rude. I should not be, like, saying shit about people.
But let's
like,
say it. Why do you think people think he's better?
I think
she's not
because
deserving of him?
I don't know, like, his background, ethnicity wise, like, whatever, but he's a light skin with colored eyes person. Yeah. So I think automatically when society sees light skinned person with colored eyes, oh my gosh, they're amazing, they're so handsome, they're so beautiful. But, like,
that's not necessarily true. Not everyone.
I'm sorry, but he's average, maybe even below.
I guess what we're trying to say is that not everybody upholds these, like, beauty standards, that most people do, that are, like, again, Eurocentric. Like, not everybody considers white people to be the epitome of, beauty. And that's no shade to anyone. That's just the reality. And I think that a lot of people are really saying he's too good for you because, again, he's thin, he's light-skinned, he has colored eyes, right? And so that is sort of kind of like the standard for a lot of, like, Latino individuals, and it's really sad, but it is a thing, right? Personally, not for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think for you either, but, like, this is a real thing, right, in our community. And I think it's like, it's tired, it's old, it's like, come on, people, do better.
It's like,
right?
the whole thing of, like, the whole topic of, and it specifically came around, towards the end of, like, the Black Lives Matter movement, and when all that was in 2020, like, and we saw a lot of, Afro-Latinos coming out, and more people, expressing and sharing, like, who they really are, and coming out and hoping that, there's other people like this. There's a community of Afro-Latinos, and a lot of Latino culture was like, no, like, you can't be black, and you can't be black and be Latino, and, like, it's just like the people who are like that don't think that like Latinos can come in like every color is
Every
crazy.
race, yeah.
It's just kind of like, I don't know, and it just kind of goes back to like growing up, or like, oh, like people find out that, you know, I'm half Mexican, or that I speak Spanish, or they see me with, you know, my mom's side of the family, and they're like, oh, like, how do you know them? Or like, you know, like, oh, you speak Spanish, like say something in Spanish right now. Like always having to like prove that
Yeah.
you know the language, always having to prove like your roots in a way. And like, oh, like, well, where are your parents from? Like, oh my gosh, like at work, for example, if I pop out speaking Spanish, like a lot of the time I'm a shift, I'm maybe the only person who speaks Spanish, and like I go to help the person who needs help in Spanish, and they're like, oh, like they look at me kind of like, oh, like how is this girl gonna help me? And I feel like I've definitely gotten used to it. It's just kind of a thing that's just how society is gonna be, and I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And I think this is kind of gonna sound harsh, but I don't think it'll ever truly be like everyone's accepting and everyone's open-minded. And you know, I think I've came to that realization for a while now, but I think, yeah, just when it comes to going back to like at work when I'm helping someone, and I just feel like it's just a lot of, you know, judgment.
Yeah.
You know, you feel the vibe when you're with someone. I'm a very observant person. So it's just kind of like shit, like damn, I won't help you then. The fuck?
Yeah.
No. But
no, I know.
I get very like, at times I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna make it a big deal. Like I get it. You don't see a lot of people. I'm not the average Latino. I'm not the poster child for Latinos, and you know, but I think it's just people need to calm down when it comes to like, you know, the reactions. And you know, it's cool. You know, when people ask me, oh, wow, like you speak Spanish, like where are your parents from, blah, 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 like where are you from? Always that question, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from here, like born and raised. And they're like, no, like where are you from? Like where are your parents from? I'm like
the microaggressions. You
So
know,
it's
but you
just-
said something so important, and I think I did a lot of rambling, but you brought it home, the point of like you said you feel like you're not the poster child for like Latinidad, or like what it's like to be Latina, right? And I think that is, which is ridiculous to even say that. And I hear what you're saying, and I agree, because again, a lot of Latinos, they have this beauty standard in their minds that to be light skinned, to be white passing, to be tall, to be skinny, to be, you know, to have colored eyes, to be, you know, to function in a very typical way, right? To be atypical is to be othered in a lot of ways, right? And so I think, to your point of not being the poster child, that's kind of what I'm getting at with Shawty Bae, that she's not considered to be the poster child of Latinidad because she's fat, because she has a disability, because she is willing to set boundaries with her parents, with her mom and sister, you know, allegedly. And, you know, she's breaking the mold of what people that look like her deserve, quote unquote. And it brings me to the point of what I wanted to ask you. Do you think there's such thing as pretty privilege? Do you think that if she looked different, and I'm not saying she's not pretty, right? Because that's like shady to frame it that way. But what I mean is like, she's not the conventional attractive person that I think most people think of.
And I think if you're hearing, if you're listening, like you obviously know what my mom is trying to get at. Obviously, she's not calling Shawty Bae this ugly person.
No.
That's not what we're here to say. That's not what we're saying. But like you said, she's not the picture. She's not the, you know, society's version of pretty.
Right.
So I do believe that pretty privilege is a thing. I think that, yeah, if Shawty Bae was thin, if Shawty Bae was, you know, what society's beauty standards are, I don't think she would getting half amount of the hate she's getting. And it's not to say that people who are like the beauty standard don't get hate, because they do, but not at the extent of like how she's getting it. It adds on the fatphobia, fat shaming, being ableist, like just all this stuff that like she's getting, which is like totally unnecessary.
Essentially, they don't get hate for the way they look, right? right, for looking like they look. And I think that, again, we're not saying she's not problematic. Has she said problematic things? Like, sure, perhaps that she has, right? But I think that what bothers me is that in her comments, there's this constant harassment that happens based on all the things that we listed, right? It's almost like people really want to see her fail. They want to see her hurting. They want to see her go away forever, right? Because I don't think people thought she was going to get this big, that she was going to get this popular. And like they say, they want to see you do good but never better than them. And I really think this is real. Like, a lot of times, like, people want to see the underdog win, but only to a certain level. Because how dare you get bigger than what we
expected, what we put you in this box to really be. And just kind of going back to like my experience with it all, I think I have always been used to growing up getting this certain type of like attention, and not to like be like, oh, like tooting my own horn and be like, oh my god, like I'm so great. But you know, like growing up, I have in the stories that, you know, I've heard from my mom, my grandma, just growing up, like everyone having questions about like, you know, oh my gosh, like, you know, she's so beautiful, all this stuff. And I wanted to share an experience that I had at work I want to say a couple months ago. And this has happened, you know, a lot, where ladies will come in, you know, like middle-aged, and it just, I could see like the intentions, but it was just, you know, the wording that like kind of rubbed me the wrong way, that like kind of stood with me. And it was just like, this lady was just telling me like, oh my gosh, like you're so beautiful. I was like, oh, thank you so much. She's like, what are you? Like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what are you? And that's kind of, I think, the biggest question that I get a lot, like, what are you? Where are you from?
Like your ethnic background or race.
And, you know, I was just say, oh, like, I'm half black, half Mexican. You know, my mom's Mexican, my dad is black. And they're like, and I told that to this lady, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, no way, like, you came out good, like you're one of the good ones. And I was like, oh my gosh, huh?
That is
like,
so offensive.
What do you mean I came out good? Like, that was just kind of like she's like, oh my gosh, your complexion's perfect. Like, it was just, she was doing too much. And I knew like she was like coming from a good place, as she thought. Like, she was just you know, complimenting me, and I think just trying to kind of do too much. And I was just kind of like, you know, obviously I'm not going to be like, what the fuck did you just say? But I was like, I mean, oh, like, thank you, honestly. Whatever. Yeah, I could have. I was just like, okay, thank you. Like, and just left it at that. But after that, like, interaction, I was just kind of like, what do you mean, like, you're one of the good ones, or you came out good? And that kind of just, like, rubbed me really the wrong way, because what do you mean by that? So it was just kind of like, it's just crazy how people just be talking. And
and that's not a compliment. And, like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. That is incredibly fucked up, inappropriate, gross. Like, I'm glad I wasn't there, because I'm constantly just like, it's
like you're never there though, when shit happens, because I think people know. It's just
to not try me. And again, not to center myself in this traumatic experience that she's like sharing, right? But like, I feel like I've always made it a point to look at it from like, kind of give people the side eye, like, because there's a lot of like fetishization that happens with like mixed children. And I think when you were growing up, and I wanted to find community of like, you know, the biracial child community, which is so problematic, you know, in so many ways. But like, the reason why I would move away from having community is because a lot of these parents, typically the mothers, in my experience that I encounter, were the non-black parent, and whether they were Mexican, another form of like non-black Latino, definitely not why I stayed away. I knew better.
Stop.
But like, no, like, I'm being honest. Like, I just, because I don't feel like I have anything in common with the white person, right? And so I'm coming from that perspective, and so I just felt like there was a lot of like fetish or fetishizing like children and their like, I guess, mixed identity, and I wasn't fucking with that. I was like, this is problematic, this is gross, I don't want to be a part of it. And so that's why I've kind of just done my own thing, right? And I feel like, I think I shared this with you, part of the reason why it's even been hard for me to find community within like a lot of like Latinas, like non-black Latino women, is because there's a lot of colorism. And obviously I'm not going to stand for it. I feel like I was born this way. Like, I feel like I was born with this mindset of like, I'm not gay, obviously. I'm not part of the LGBTQ plus community, but I've always been an advocate, I feel like, and an ally. And I'm even cringing saying it out loud, right? Because a lot of allies we know can be problematic, but I feel like I've always just known like accepting of everyone, regardless of your race, your, you know, sexual preference, your gender presentation, or whatever it is.
And I feel like anyone, sorry to cut you off, but like just a small little part, like anyone who knows you personally in real life, like they can 100% stand for that. I don't care who it is. I don't care how close you are or not. Like, I think everyone can vouch for you and say, like, yes, she is, like, accepting of everyone. She is, like, the person to go to.
Yeah.
And obviously it can be, like, because you are the therapist in the family and the therapist friend. And that comes with a lot, too. That's a whole different thing when people come to you. But, yeah, I just think it just shows a lot that I feel like you can go to anyone we know in real life. And
I'm basically not a bigot, right? Like, I'm basically
the heck is that?
not, you know what that is.
No, I do not.
It's like a person who, like, is like discriminates and has like a bias, like a prejudice against other people.
Okay, I've heard the word, but like certain words, I don't know what it is for sure.
And like, so I'm not that, and I try really hard, and I feel like I have.
You don't even try hard though. That's just who you are.
It's who I am. It's I was born to be this way, right? And I feel like I made it my personal business to really like invest in like immersing myself in like issues that affect you. Obviously, I will never be able to really know what it's like to be a black woman because I'm not a black woman, but I feel like I have done a lot of work around like educating myself around issues that matter, right? Because I am raising a biracial daughter. Like, I'm not gonna be Chloe to the bullshit and be like, I don't see color, right? Like, no, color's a thing, and like I'm not gonna erase your identity, right? And so I just think that like, yes, I've always been this way, but I've also done a lot of work to deal with my own, you know, internalized racism. And this means, you know, I've educated myself formally and informally, and I've cut out a lot of toxic people in my life, family included, that have said problematic things and continue to say problematic things because I'm not going to stand for that.
And it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier is like maybe there has been family members that have said, you know, certain stuff, obviously not the most intense of like maybe what we're thinking, a certain word or phrase or whatever,
no.
but never that. But I've never been in like, obviously we talked about this earlier, like in the vicinity where they're saying it around me, but I know that if they were to say stuff or like distant family, not even close, or if it's not like, they always make it a point to be like, if you hear and you do speak up, they're kind of like, oh, well, not Tati. Like, we obviously know, like, not her. Like,
and it's like, it doesn't matter.
That's like side-eye type of shit.
Right.
Like, what?
Right.
Like,
and so for me, that's a problem. If you're my family or friend, and if you make a derogatory comment about, for instance, like the black community, and you're like, oh, but not Tatiana, like not your daughter, she's different. That's not a compliment. That's still problematic.
That's not like, oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Like, you will get cussed the fuck out. And you will get cut from my life. However, I feel like I think that's the reasonable response, but I really feel like the real work comes in on my end, right? I would never put you through uncomfortable situations or make you repair any relationship
and you never have,
because of this, right?
But
I feel like as your mother, my job is to do the work, and this goes in like in regards to like educating family, right? Because friends, like I feel like I can cut off, family I can cut off too, but I feel like this is where like the real work, you know, is like educating people that you love that are problematic, right? And being able to say, you know what you're saying is problematic, it's harmful, and these are the reasons why. And I feel like my response used to be like, fuck you, I'm cutting you off, like don't talk to me again. But I feel like the older I've gotten, and I think it's also the therapist in me and like the professor, the educator in me, I think wants to educate, you know, when I have the capacity to do so. And also depending on the level of ignorance that that person is exhibiting.
Because if they're far gone, then
far gone,
like
yes.
we know the Trumpies, those ones are far gone. That's a whole other thing, but
yeah, we're not dealing with that. But I feel like, you know, sometimes like, you know, like my mom will say certain things that are problematic, not even about like, you know, race or any of that, but just even like things that are
like gender roles or like
gender
stuff
roles.
yeah,
that are problematic, and I will take the time and ask like, Mom, like, you know, why do you think that? And I'll hear her out, and then I say, can I offer a different perspective? Like, that's maybe not the nicest thing to say, or what do you think about this? And sometimes she'll listen and she'll be like, you're right, you know, like I never thought of it that way. In those cases, I'm like, I'm glad I took the time to like, you know, educate. But sometimes you just don't have the energy, and that's totally
sometimes
okay.
it depends who it is. It depends how you're feeling. Do I want to like even not waste my time, but like put in my time and effort to educate someone who you know is just gonna it's gonna fly over their head. So it's
I feel like the person who's being oppressed and the person that's being harmed never has to do any work. I feel like you could just walk away and let that be that if you choose to do that. I feel, again, the work comes from me being a bystander and being able to advocate for you and advocate for others, because there's privilege in not being harmed in this way, right? And so I have to use my privilege and challenge people that I love. There's a quote by like James Baldwin, I think, that says something about, and I'm paraphrasing that. It's like, if I love you, I'm going to hold you accountable to the things that you don't see that are harmful, right? Like I want you to be the best version of yourself. And if I'm calling you out or in, whatever you want to call it, is because I care about you. And so again, I really care about my community. I do obviously, you know, a lot of work around, you know, providing therapeutic services for the Latinx community. And even the way that I even market myself and I put myself out there is to like decolonize therapy, right? To decolonize the ways that we think of ourselves, the way that we treat each other within our community, the way we treat others outside of our community, and to sort of work really hard to kind of like undo these notions that we have where we, you know, think our proximity to whiteness is going to protect us, because it's not.
Sorry, I don't know, I'm smirking. You know, like you think of like what you just said, and like I was talking about like the lady, what she said, I thought of like that meme of like, who was it, like the Kelly Osbourne girl?
Oh God!
And when she was
in the
like,
sense that
no, in the sense that not the accent. That was crazy, but I don't know. I just thought of that when she was like, "Ooh, that's not." That, I don't know. It's a
no,
Gen Z
you're
thing.
right. But like, I think when you share that story, first of all, I don't think you had shared it with me at all. Like that lady made that comment.
I know, I forgot about that, honestly.
And like the fact that you like took a step and back and you reflected, like, wait a minute, that was problematic. That wasn't cool what she said.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you have.
It's kind of like, almost like kind of, she didn't mention, you know, anyone else, but just to say like, oh, you came out good.
What was she?
She was like a light skin, like mixed, like lady, like middle aged, like yeah. So you could tell she was like black, but like not, you know, darker complected, like yeah, lighter.
Yeah, I obviously you're mixed, right? But like I think, would you agree that I think like the way you present to the world is you present as like a black woman, a black young lady, right? And so I think that also matters, right? Like that gives you a specific experience, and I'm not blind to that. And I think I learned this from when you were very little, that I'm not going to be like, oh, but she's both, but she's also Mexican, right? It's like I have to be like mindful that like, yes, you are both, but the way you present to the world is very specific, and I have to like, you know, equipped you with the knowledge that is going to allow you to thrive in a world that sees you as a Black woman, you know. And there's a lot of, you know, education that I had to do on my own to be able to give you that type of support. And I'm still learning. Obviously, I'm not perfect, but I feel like I do the best that I can to advocate for you and to protect you from a lot, right? And also to equip you with a lot of tools so you can protect yourself. But definitely, it's a lot to unpack. Again, we covered so much. I feel like I rambled a lot.
We covered a lot.
But this is like such a big topic, I feel like, that I'm very passionate
It's like
about.
never ending.
It's never ending.
It's literally never ending. Like every day, just something new every day. It's just more racism, colorism. Like, what is it? Like racism, like is like a pandemic or something? Or
epidemic.
Not the pandemic.
Yeah. I know what you meant though.
No, because like I don't know, I saw that in like something.
Yeah.
But no, because I have like an assignment, and why did my teacher put like racism as like a pandemic?
Oh.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I want to hear.
Let's not
cut that part out about your assignment.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, back to what we were talking about. Again, the reason why I wanted to bring this up on Mexican Independence Day is because, again, it's like a call to action. Like, I just want those of you listening to really like take a step back, and if anything we said triggered you, ask yourself, why was I triggered with that? If you strongly disagree with anything we said, you're entitled to that, but I want you to also take a step back and ask, why do I disagree so passionately with that take or that perspective, right?
Yeah.
And being able to, or if you're like tuning out and you're like, oh, these bitches are just rambling.
Stop.
Like, what are they talking about? I want you to consider that there's privilege in that, and being able to say, like, I don't know what they're talking about. I can't identify, I can't relate to anything they're saying. There's privilege in that. Ignorance is bliss, right? There's privilege in being able to be ignorant and blind to the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, just take what we're saying and, again, just sit with it, marinate. Let us know in the comments. Write us in. Let us know how you feel. Let us know if this was helpful, if this was triggering, if this was boring. Let us know.
Yeah. Please let us know. We are honestly still trying to figure out like video and audio. So we're really hoping that we could have maybe possibly video for this one. I know it's a lot.
Shout out to our producer XD, who's been so patient and so great with us as we navigate this. I swear we're not this dumb.
Stop.
We've just had like, you know, technical issues, but you know, hopefully we can get it sorted out sooner rather than later.
Sorry guys, I've been up since like 6 a.m. It is 9 o'clock right now. But yeah, we are. The gym is not sounding good right now.
I know. Well, let's wrap it up. Any last thoughts?
I just want everyone to know that words themselves, I just learned this in my communication class today too, a little thing. Words themselves on their own are not powerful, but it's us as humans who make them powerful, and how we say them and who's saying them. Ew, not me being like the professor.
No, but it's true. I like this.
Just words, what you say matters, and maybe you think you're coming from a good place and you're giving someone a compliment, but really just sit with it and maybe reflect and be like, hey, like, is this, you know, there's no need to kind of like compare others and kind of like to lift someone up. So yeah, just think about what you say before you say it. Happy
Decolonizing Day.
Bye. Yeah.
Happy Mexican Independence Day. We are obviously very proud to be Mexican. There's a lot of work to be done in our community, but there's also a lot of pride in being Mexican. Yeah. We're very resilient.
We might go
to Mexico
soon. Yeah. So vlog.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But what I want to say before we end this podcast, I want to say, if you're listening and if you ever have felt marginalized, left out, singled out, or if you have ever felt othered and you have felt like you don't belong because of your identity, because of your gender presentation, because of your beliefs, because of your skin color, because of the way you look, the way you feel, the way you act, you have found your space. This is your space. We want to let you know that you do belong and that we are happy that you are listening and that we are here for you and that, you matter and you matter to us.
You sure do.
We want to hear from you. So thank you guys for listening to us. And some days are going to be serious and deep. Some days are going to be casual, just talking about random things. But it was in my heart to talk about this tonight. And we did it.
But yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching again.
Thank you guys for listening.
Please share this. Give us a like. Any platform you're watching on. And I hope you guys tune in for next week.
And Shawty Bae, we love you. Don't,
Shawty Bae, like,
don't be mad at us.
No, like, if she comes across as, like, no, like, we are not hating. Like, we're literally just, like,
I stay fighting with trolls online advocating for Shawty Bae.
Like, don't hate. Honestly, at the end of the day, don't hate. Like, no matter, like, obviously there's a time and a place. Maybe, but yeah, just please don't spread hate. Spread love. If you see me or my mom in some TikTok comments, no, you didn't. No, I'm just kidding. Not like hating, but like defending people, voicing our opinions. But yeah, that was all for this week's episode. Again, we hope you guys liked it. Let us know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes.
And yeah, if Mama Only Knew on all socials, if Mama Only Knew pod on all socials. So go ahead and give us a follow. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff.
If you're not on social media, you can always email us as well. If Mama Only Knew pod at gmail.com. Let us know what you think.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Bye, guys.
Bye.